Hi, it's Tarrant.
And Stella from Meeple University. Today we are sharing you one of the newest Uwe Rosenberg's game, Applejack. So I believe there are 3 Essen 2022 releases by Uwe Rosenberg, Atiwa, Applejack, and one more. So I haven't seen Applejack a lot in the media, but we are going to feature it because of the reason we'll tell you after in our review. So we're going to do overview and then review afterwards.
So this is a tile drafting, tile placement, sort of an individual tile placement game where you're trying to get the most honey that you can. You'll see there's this spiral here. Basically each turn the die is going to be in a certain location and you will get to pick any one of the orchard tiles, apple tiles, from the 2 troughs adjacent to the die. You have to pay the cost in honey, which is ultimately your score, so you're paying points based on the numbers shown on each of the beehives on the tile. So you'd have to pay 6 to get this one, and then you would place it anywhere onto your grid. This would then move around, and the next player would get a turn. Ultimately, how you get honey in this game, there's a few ways. The first is that you can join up beehives. So if I place any, let's say I had put this here, if I place a tile such that the beehives line up, then each pair gives me honey equal to the lower number. So this tile would have cost me 7 to place, but then I would have got 4 plus 6 is 10 honey back for it. So you can make a profit by joining up beehives. The second one is harvesting. So each time you've got a cluster of tiles that has a certain type of apple on it, when that apple harvests, for example, this brown apple would harvest when this die moved across here after someone's turn, then you would count up the number of that apple in the cluster and score honey equal to that number minus the number on the die. And the die is going to increase as it does laps. So it gets harder to make a profit on honey that way.
For example, let's say if this is the case, when you harvest brown, that would be 1, 2, 3 minus 1, so 2. So there are 2 browns here.
Well, it is in a cluster. It's a cluster of 2, so you would also have 1 point for. But it gets more profitable as you join them up, and because a lot of these overlap, there's 7 different types of apples, and you're trying to make overlapping groups, essentially. You can also score points from blossoms. So there's blossoms here. Each one you get will score when a lap is completed by the die. So there's a little blossom icon there. So when it completes its lap, you'll get 1 point per blossom. When the game is over, everyone's board will be completely full. You harvest all of the apples again, and you will get some bonus honey for each apple type that you earn a profit on. So by the time the die has a 3 there, which is where it will be at the end of the game, you need to have 4 apples per group in order to make that profit. So that's a big part of what you're trying to do. You can score a lot of points by achieving that. And you also score your blossoms again and add it to any honey you've been collecting. And then whoever has the most honey wins.
And that is basically the game. What do you think, Tarrant?
I think it's good. I think it is, it fits very much into that. There's a lot of games like this, right? You've got Calico, you've got Cascadia, games that are a very simple tile drafter, where you're building your own little board. You have a little bit of drafting interaction with the other players, but not that much. And then it's all about how interesting is the puzzle that you're building up. And in this case, I do think the puzzle is very interesting. I think you've got trying to weigh up getting expensive tiles versus cheap tiles and making it worth your while, whether you line them up to get as much beehive points as you can, or if you really focus on the clusters. There's a few different ways of going about it. You can go for a random tile as well if you want. That can maybe be the thing that sorts you out. You can also see which pair of things you're going to have available to you next time you go, so you can plan ahead a little bit. So it's got some nice little thinky pieces there. Very much in the same vein as those other games. It probably falls between Cascadia and Calico for me. I think it's probably not quite as good as Cascadia. It's more fun than Calico. It's certainly not as pretty as Cascadia. I think that's one of the things that Cascadia really had going for it, and what made it so successful was, it's a very attractive game. It had the nice art on the wildlife and things. This is kind of just pattern matching of apples. Mm-hmm. It feels a bit mechanical in that way, but it's nice. It is very nice the way the puzzle works on the board. So I still recommend this game.
There you go. I think the components itself, I mean, it's pretty, it's Apple, but it is quite thin. Like, it's not like these days and age, it's probably not often you see it is a thin tiles. Well, it's not that thin, but still, I don't have any problems with that myself. But I think, yes, the tile placement bit, the tile drafting bit is like similar to other games, but the unique bit is that there's also, when you leave the opponents with only one, then the tiles get revealed. That's how it gets revealed. And sometimes you're just like, you don't want to fill it up for opponents, you want to take the other one. But you got to have to method out which one is more beneficial. The economy of getting the honey, like, do you pay it, but then you can get it back. Do you want to place it there for the economy? I mean, you kind of like need to have some honey as currency, obviously, because you don't want to be stuck with no honey. If that's the case, you just take a tile and flip it, and you just get 2 honey, and that's pretty crap option.
That's bad. The sheep eat your apples and your creams.
Yeah, that's one thing that you're gonna have to work out. You can see that there's this low point honey you can try to match, but I think a lot of the points, I think we try different strategies. I've seen trying to get the money immediately by matching it, like 9 and 10 you get 9, or trying to put a lot of cluster of apples at the same apple, because if you cut it off, then you score less, because this die from 1 and the last round becomes 3, so it's -3 when you harvest apple or blossom. So I've seen that strategy with the different with trying to put cluster of apples together, not necessarily getting a lot of money, but you kind of have to balance it, I guess, because then you need that honey. Honey, na 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 na. Anyways.
There's a different one of these boards with a different density spiral for every player count. There's always 7 troughs. There's a spot here for each player, basically. Mm-hmm. So that's how it changes with player count. Otherwise, the game, I guess you can plan fewer turns ahead with certainty at higher player counts, because you do a circle and come back to the same troughs more quickly.
Replayability, well, it is the tile placement. Do you think it's replayable, Tarrant? Do you think it's the next time you play, does it feel good still?
I think so. I think, it's not a game that changes up that much, but it's got an interesting enough puzzle on the board that you're always going to have a different optimal.
The game itself plays 1 to 4 players. We have not played the solo mode, but the option's there for solo. I think it will be, I think it should make a challenging and puzzly solo game. So that is Applejack. Have you seen it anyway? What do you think of it? I think this is an Uwe Rosenberg game that is kind of like different from his other games. We've got a Tiwa, we've got video for it as well. There's Feast for Odin, there's not Ark Nova. Sagani.
Yeah,
Sagani?
It probably is a bit of a different branch for him. Better known for polyomino games than simple tile placement ones.
Different apple branches, maybe.
Mm-hmm. But the one thing that is consistent is it is a farming game.
That is correct. All of them are farming. No, not all of them are farming. anyways, that is Applejack. Let us know what you think. Did you even pick it up from Essen Spiel? I'm not sure if they ran out or not, but I picked up 2 out of the 3 Uwe Rosenberg's game from Essen Spiel 2022. I did not pick up the last one. And let me know, did you play this one? Did you play Atiwa as well? Atiwa? And that is it. Hopefully you enjoy this, you find it useful. If you enjoy it somehow, please hit the like button and subscribe to us if you haven't already done so. I'm also on Instagram. Find me there as well. And hopefully we'll see you next time. Bye.